Hello everyone, my name is Elijah David, minister of the 12th Hour Apostolic Sabbatarian Congregation, Mount Zion 12th Hour, in the Liberty Hill, Texas. Today is August 10, 2013, or it is the 4th day of Elul 2017. We will start our third service on the 7th-day Sabbath with a song entitled, "On Jordan's Stormy Banks I Stand." On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast away his full heart. To Canaan's fair and happy land where my possessions lie. I am bound for the promised land, yes I am. I am bound for the promised land. Let me, I am bound for the promised land. For all those wide extended plains shine one eternal day. The Yahweh and the sun forever reigns and steady night away. I am bound for the promised land. Yes, I am bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. No chilling winds, no poisonous breath can reach the healthful soul. Sickness and sorrow again, this is Elijah David. We're going to continue on now with our study. We were dealing with the study in the Patriarchs and Prophets of chapter, I believe, 29, yes, Satan's enmity against Yahweh's law. We're going to finish up that chapter, and then we're going to get into the next chapter, chapter 30. And but before we do that, chapter 30 is the tabernacle and its services. This is Patriarchs and Prophets by the Ellen G. White. And first we're going to refer to a prayer thought taken from Psalms chapter 15, 16, 17, and 18. Those four chapters. Fasten your seatbelts. This is present truth. This is where we're at today, folks. Yahweh is asking these questions. David is asking these questions. He's asking them to Yahshua, his Savior, and he's very sincere about wanting to know the truth about who shall abide in his tabernacle and who shall dwell in thy holy hill. This is the main concern of David. And he says, in Psalm 15, starting with verse 1, it says, Yahshua. David's talking to Yahshua now, his friend, the son of Yahweh. Who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Now, that tabernacle is that tabernacle that was raised up in the wilderness by Moses when he came down out of the mount of Sinai. On that time when he spent 40 days, Yahweh taught him all about the tabernacle and its services. where that tabernacle come from that appeared upon the top of that Mount Sinai, burning with fire, with smoke, camouflaging. It came down from heaven. And who was in that tabernacle? Yahweh the Father and Yahshua the Son. Now, Moses had to spend 40 days in that tabernacle. Okay, now he went up into that cloud, he went up into that tabernacle, he went up into that mountain to start his 40 days, and we know that that was at the Pentecost time of the year. Now 40 days is going to bring you on down pretty close to the atonement in the 7th month, I believe. But let's just leave that for a moment, and let's go back now when David is addressing Yahshua. Who shall abide in thy tabernacle? Who shall dwell in thy holy hill? And today, the holy hill, where this tabernacle is being represented today, is the holy hill of Mount Zion for 12 hours. But the antiquary Elijah David presiding over this holy hill. Okay, in Liberty Hill, Texas, I might add. Okay, he that walketh uprightly and worketh righteousness and speaketh the truth in his heart. Now this is who's going to abide in this holy hill. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor doeth evil to his neighbor, nor taketh up a reproach against his neighbor, in whose eyes a vile person is contemned, but he honoreth them through the Yahweh. He that sweareth unto his own hurt and changes not, he that putteth not out his money unto the usury, nor taketh reward against the innocent, he that doeth these things shall never be moved. Okay. Psalm 16. Preserve me, O Yahweh. Let's just say this is talking about the Father now. Alright, or we can say, O Yahshua, my Savior. Preserve me, O Yahshua, because he's the one in charge of my life. Here now that I have fallen into sin, and that we're all under the penalty of the death sentence for being, having the decree fall upon us from Adam. The soul that sinneth shall die. Everyone that sins shall die. Romans chapter 6 shows you how, though, you can recover from that death penalty by confession of sin, repentance, turning away from sin, and being baptized into his death, Yahshua's death, and resurrected in the likeness of his resurrection, coming out of that baptismal grave, symbolically showing that you have died unto the old man of sin. Now you are resurrected as a new creature, following the law of the Spirit of life in the Yahshua now. Okay, so it says, preserve me, O Yahshua. Well now, just a minute. How do you preserve food? They have a process. So you take food that you need to lay up and keep for a while. You can preserve it. They've got preservatives. They've got a way of doing it. So, how does Yahshua then, my Savior, how does he preserve me? He first accepts me as a confessed sinner. That's the only time that he can accept me is after I confess my sin. Be willing to follow him, be covered by his blood. And then he preserves me. How? By introducing me to his commandments in the sanctuary of this tabernacle. The antitype of the one that Moses raised up in the wilderness. That's what that tabernacle was for back then. To preserve those that wanted to be delivered from sin, and once they confessed their sin, then they were preserved by the blood of the everlasting covenant, by the practicing of the laws of that tabernacle, that sanctuary, pertaining to the administration of the blood. And whenever they learn to follow the pattern, accept that, and they learn to follow the pattern of salvation through the blood of the everlasting covenant, and this is how they are preserved from the time that they confess their sin. From the time that they come to Yahshua, repentance and confession, and he takes and covers their sins by granting them a temporal pardon right there on the spot by grace. Then he takes their sins and he takes and processes them to his sanctuary that he is a high priest of. Yahshua does all that for the repentant sinner today. Because he's a high priest administering in the heavenly sanctuary, which is that same sanctuary that came down upon Mount Sinai that Moses went up into the mount. That same sanctuary that came down after Moses was shown in the mount the pattern on how to raise it up in real life here on earth, a physical building, a physical tabernacle. Then that tabernacle that came down upon Sinai as a pattern, as a type, went back to heaven. Who took it back there? The one who brought it down. Yahweh the Father and Yahshua his Son. After it was no longer needed for Moses to make the pattern after, Yahweh couldn't come down and get Moses and take him up into heaven and show him the pattern of that tabernacle. No, he had to wait for Moses to physically and visibly demonstrate his leadership of delivering his people out of the bondage of sin. Moses had to first go down into Egypt with Yahshua, the high priest. Yahshua, the high priest of the new covenant, but yet Melchizedek was acting in Yahshua's stead back then, in the patriarchal time. And who is Melchizedek? Camouflage. He was that angel, which is Yahshua. He is camouflaged as a human being, fully mature, without father, without mother, says Melchizedek can. Okay? And now Melchizedek is camouflaged, but he is actually that angel of the tabernacle that went before Moses and led him invisibly down into Egypt, but very much in the presence of the Spirit. Moses felt his presence every step of the way, and so did Aaron, his brother. Now, when David says, "Preserve me, O Yahshua, for in thee do I put my trust," O my soul, thou hast said unto the Yahshua, thou art my Savior. My goodness extendeth not to thee, but unto the saints that are in the earth. Okay. Now, what is David talking about here? Thou art my Savior. He says, my goodness extendeth not unto thee. In other words, not unto thee only, but unto the saints that are in the earth. So what is his goodness? There's one other place that talks about the Yahshua's goodness. And that's over there in the prophecy of Hosea, where it talks about Yahshua and his goodness in the latter days. What's Yahshua's goodness? In the person of his saints. That's his goodness. So David said, now, my goodness extendeth not unto thee, but unto the saints that are in the earth, and unto the excellent in whom is all my delight. For their sorrow shall be multiplied and hasten after another, God. Their drink offerings of the blood will I not offer, nor take up their names into my lips. For the Yahshua is the portion of mine inheritance. Okay. Now, it says that over there in, I believe, Jeremiah 51:19, that somebody else is a portion of someone's inheritance. Let's go read that. It says that, let's start with verse 18. They are vanity, the work of errors in the time of their visitation. They shall perish. For the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the form of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. So the true Israel today would be the 144,000. You can only be named Israel if you are 100% without sin. Once you come to your trials and tribulation and you pass through the valley of sin, once you come through a triumph and getting rid of your sins and leaving them in that valley, then you emerge as a born-again Israelite with the name spiritual Israel of today. Okay. So Jacob represents his 12 sons. He's the father of his 12 sons, the 12 tribes of Israel, 144,000 even translate into today. And so it says that Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Of whose inheritance? Of Jacob's inheritance. Okay. And the rod is another definition for rod is authority for Yahweh's government. Okay. And Yahweh's government is controlled and run by the sanctuary service. Alright. Let's go back to Psalms 16. Their sorrow shall be multiplied that hasten after another God. Their drink offerings of the blood will I not offer. And I'll take up their names into my lips. What about that? Their sorrow shall be multiplied that hasten after another God. Suggesting, I guess, somewhat that these folks that do these things had at one time chosen to follow the true Elohim in Yahshua. But they hasten after another one later on. And he says, their drink offerings of the blood will I not offer, nor take up their names into my lips. Well, all you got to do is go to Isaiah 51 and find out about who these people, Isaiah chapter 1, and find out who these people are that offer these strange drink offerings. And they're the house of Israel. And there is with its leaders. Okay? So what are we talking about? It says the vision of Isaiah the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah, 2 tribes, and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah. And Jerusalem is the capital of Judah, the house of David, the lawgiver. This is David's house. And Ahaz and Hezekiah, kings of the Judah. A sinful nation. That it talks about. This Israel, this Judah, it's talking about this Judah being a sinful nation. It's not talking about those 10 tribes of Israel up in the north that are also a sinful nation. Because they've been in captivity for at least 120 years, up to the time that this sinful nation of Judah was discovered, down in the south. Right? So now, this says in Isaiah 1, and go on with verse 2, Hear, O Israel, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Yahshua has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. Or let's just say the Yahweh, the Father, has spoken. Let's just deal with that for a moment. So it says, for the Yahweh has spoken, I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his own, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know my people, doth not consider. Even though this is talking about the sinful kingdom of Israel. Now, when it says Israel in the scripture, when it talks about the kingdom of Israel, it's talking about the 10 tribes in the north. It's not talking about the true tribes of Judah. Okay? Because Judah is just one nation of the two. Of the Israel. There's 2 nations of Israel. There's a nation of Judah, lawgiver, the house of David. There's a nation of the 10 tribes, which is the house of Joseph in the north. Okay? All sinful nations. A people laden with iniquity, a seed of the evildoers. Children that are corrupted, they have forsaken the Yahshua. Their high priest. They have forsaken it. It's talking about the house of Judah now. It's not talking about the 10 tribes. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel, which is Yahshua, unto anger. They are gone away backward. Now, folks, this started with Judah, actually at the cross. the Pharisees, representing the house of David, the tribe of Judah, the lawgiver, that rejected Yahshua, that Yahshua also is a member of the house of the tribe of Judah, house of David. He came to his own, they didn't recognize him, they crucified him. Okay? So it says these have gone away backward. And this house of Judah translates true on down to our time into the house of Mount Gilead. It came from 1970, 2003. They brought up the tail end of Judah. The sinful kingdom, the lawgiver, that has been in existence ever since Solomon's death. After Solomon's death, the two great kingdoms evolved out of that one great kingdom and nation of Israel. And that was the nation of the 10 tribes in the north, the house of Joseph, okay, and the house of David in the south, Judah, the lawgiver. Why should you be stricken more? You will revolt more and more, for the whole head is sick and the whole heart faint. We're talking about the whole head is sick. What's the head of this here, this woman today? What would be the head of it? The Adventist Church in its beginning would be the head of it. But when the Adventist Church was cut off in its first feeding masturbation in 1890, then he became the head. He became the head of that body. Judah, 1930. It succeeded the Carmel feeding center, succeeded Nation of 1890. It says, from the sole of the foot and in unto the head, there is no soundness in it. It's talking about this here sinful kingdom of Judah. And it's so sad, because in her was born the spirit of prophecy of the former and the latter rain coming together, portrayed through the message of the rod, shepherd rod. And that's who this woman is, who this woman represents. And bruised and purifying sores they have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with the ointment. Your country is desolate. Your country. Talking about Judah now. In these last days, this is the latter-day prophecy for the 12 hours. Well, when did the tribe of Judah, here in the wilderness of the people, in Texas, when did it become desolate? When did the country where it was presiding, living in, where did it become desolate? And when? It says, your country is desolate, your cities are burned with the fire. Fire means judgment. And they're talking about the judgment before whenever a people are judged, they have to come before the judgment bar at the appointed time. So it says, your country is desolate. Well, in this case, Gilead Center, as the last feeding pasture for Israel, became desolate. And keep in mind now, the house of Israel had 3 feeding pastures during these last days. And Bashan, the first feeding pasture, guess what? Was worldwide for the Adventists. But the second feeding, Carmel, was localized right here in the great one nation of Texas. Not identified as a nation by the United States government because she's taken Texas captive under a joint resolution of Congress, and so Texas resides under the power right now of the United States government as a captive nation state. So whose country is it? It's talking about the hill country of Judea that belongs to the house of David. Before she becomes born again and purified and made right by the restoring and raising up the tabernacle of David that has fallen down. But when she does that, and it says her country is desolate. So where she started out at was in Carnal, Texas, 1970, the atypical house of Judah. And so Texas is a big country. And when we left the desert and the wilderness of Judea in 2003, we came 400 miles on due east from there and came to a lush feeding pasture. Okay. And so it says, left that wilderness out there that housed the central kingdom of Judah, As the angel of the seventh candlestick, Laodicea, at the helm of it from 1970-2003, as soon as there was a judgment there and a separation from the good and the bad, the good moved on, the bad stayed behind, and their houses became a desolation and a booty. Their land became desolate and dried up. And what didn't die off moved out and away from there and dissolved the whole blooming mess. When it comes to this desolate, your cities are burned with the fire. Talking about the cities of Babylonia. Talking about which are the cities of Judah. There's a lot of cities that belong to Judah. Or the Davidian world, wherever they had their camps all over the world, are a city of Judah, the house of Judah. So it says your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devoured in your presence, and it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except the Yahshua of the host have left unto us a very small remnant. In our case, it's only three. Okay. We should have been as a Sodom, and we should have been like unto the Gomorrah. Here's the word of the Yahweh, ye rulers of Sodom. Hear this word, ye rulers of the Sodom. In other words, when you say thee, you're talking about a one specific one. Okay? It says, give ear unto the law of Elohim, ye people of Gomorrah. Alright, now here is Sodom today, spiritually. Would be the Adventist church. Here is Gomorrah. Would be the Davidian Adventist church. To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifices unto me? In other words, going through the cold dead formalism of following rituals according to an instrument of a calendar, a true calendar system, but nonetheless, only going through the cold dead formalism of it doesn't avail you anything. If you don't have blood running through it and being appropriated and applied onto the system, then it's all in vain. It's called what's called vain worship. So it says, saith Yahweh, I am full of the burnt offerings of the rams and the fat of the fed beasts, and I delight not in the blood of the bush or of the lamb or of the goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required this at your hand to tread my courts? Now he's addressing the last chapter of Gilead Center, 2002. Bring no more vain oblation. Incense is an abomination unto me. What's these vain oblation? Meaningless formality of going to doing spiritual services on any given holy day. The calling of assemblies, I cannot away with it. There it is, right there. It is iniquity, even the solemn meeting. Your new moon. Now, and your appointed feast, my soul hated. Why? Well, Yahshua was one that visited Burris in 1968. He's the one that taught him the secrets of the calendar in the sky, where the sun, the moon, the stars sit. Okay? He's the one that visited Burris and told him all that. He said, this here will raise up the spiritual tabernacle that is falling down today. And he taught Burris Johnson how to do all that. And now he turns it to the same people one day, and he says, your new moons and your appointed feast. And Yahshua appointed new moons and the appointed feast unto Gilead Center in 1970. And that we practiced them. I was there for the whole time, the whole duration, 33 years. At the end of 33 years, he appeared unto the angel of the candlestick in charge of Gilead Center in Kermit, Texas, 2002 at the Passover. He says, your new moons and your appointed feast, my soul hated. They are trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. I've been 33 years bearing these for you, Gilead Center. I'm weary to bear it anymore. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash your nature clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now and let us reason together, saith the Yahshua. Though your sins be as the scarlet, they shall be as white as the snow. Though they be red like the crimson, they shall be as the wool. If you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured with the sword. For the mouth of the Yahshua has spoken. Now he's talking to Gideon directly here in 2002. He said, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good land. What land? The land of Israel across the waters? No. The land where your feet is standing upon right now. Because there is a thing in prophecy just for this very event. That Texas be turned into a vertical Garden of Eden and showing the Western Hemisphere how she can have a New Jerusalem, a Garden of Eden, and paradise right here in this great, wonderful nation that has been put in reserve for many centuries, waiting for her to come at her appointed time. Okay. So it says right here, it says your new moons and your appointed feast. I shall hear. They are troubling me, I'm worried about them. Okay, but in verse 19 he says, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. What land? This land that's flowing with milk and honey. What land? The hill countries of Judea, here in this awesome Texas area, turned into a vertical Garden of Eden, even as we speak. Right before our very eyes. It says, but if you refuse to rebel, you shall be devoured with the sword. What is the sword? The word of the Yahshua. It's a double-edged sword, Hebrews 4:12. For the mouth of the Yahweh has spoken. That's Yahweh the Father. How is a faithful city becoming harder? Okay. Now, how is this faithful city of the Adventists become a harlot? When did she first become a harlot? Adventist Church in her beginning, 1844, depicted as a mother, okay, of Israel today. And now it's asking, how is a faithful city? How long has the Adventist been faithful to the seventh-day Sabbath and hold it up for the world? For at least 167, 8 years now. Okay. So it's talking about how is the faithful city becoming harder. It's talking about the Adventist Church. That started out as a faithful city. It was faithful for a long time, and now she's become. It's asking the question, how does she do this? Okay. So now it says, it is now full of judgment. Righteousness lies in it, but now murderers. Well, we had righteousness by faith. For sure, was introduced to in 1888, 1890. Jones and Bunny came to the little Advent band back then. They introduced righteousness by faith in the blood of the everlasting covenant. Okay. So it says, how is a faithful city becoming hard? Because she abandoned her course. She got off of the path where this guiding light was directing her day by day. She turned aside, got on another path. And that's how she became an harlot, because she lost her way. Okay. Well, it was full of judgment. Righteousness lies in it, but now murderers. Why? Because she's not following that path where that light shined up there in front of her. Silver has become dross, wine mixed with the water. Thy princes are rebellious and companions of the thief. Everyone loveth gifts and follows after rewards. They judge not the father. Now the death of the cause of the widow come into under them. Therefore, saith the Yahweh. Or does it say Yahshua? the Yahshua of the host, as the mighty one of Israel. I will ease me of mine adversary, and avenge me of mine enemy. And I will turn my hand upon thee, and truly purge away thy dross, and take away all thy sin. And I will restore thy judges as at the first, and thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterwards thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion shall be redeemed with the judgment, and her converts with the righteousness. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together. And they that forsake the Yahshua shall be consumed, for they shall be ashamed of the oaks which ye have desired. And ye shall be confounded for the gardens that you have chosen, for you shall be as an oak whose leaf faileth, and as a garment that hath no water, and or as a garden that hath no water. And the stone shall be as tow, and the maker of it as a spark, and they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them. Okay, let us continue now with our study. We'll initiate our prayer thought from Psalm 16. And it says right there in verse chapter 7, it says, I will bless the Yahshua, who hath given me counsel. My reins also instruct me in the night season. I have set the Yahshua always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Now, why was David so successful? Because he had a personal relationship with Yahshua the Son on a day-to-day continuing basis. He said, therefore my heart is glad, and my glory rejoices. My flesh also shall rest in the hope, but thou wilt not leave my soul in hell. Neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. Now, actually, he's talking about Yahweh the Father. For David is the one that he said he will not leave him in hell, nor Yahshua the Son when he dies. He's not going to leave him in hell either. Neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One, which is Yahshua, to see corruption. Thou wilt show me the path of the life. Now David is talking more than that to the Father here. He said, thou wilt show me the path of the life. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Now there is another scripture in the Old Testament. That's there in John 14:6. Talks about the way, the path, the way, and the life of the Yahshua is a. Let's just read it. It says, John 14:6. Yahshua saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Now, what did David say in the Psalms? Thou wilt show me the path of life. And what does it say there in Psalms 4:18? For the path of the just is a shining light that shineth more and more to the perfect day. And David said that Yahweh the Father was going to show him that path. In other words, Proverbs 4:18 says it's the path of the just. In thy presence is the fullness of the joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore. Hear the right, O Yahweh. Okay, now we're in Psalm 17. Hear the right, O Yahweh, attend unto my cry, give ear unto my prayer that goeth not out of feigned lips. Okay. Let my sins come forth from thy presence, let thine eyes behold the things that are equal. Okay. Now thou hast proved mine heart, thou hast visited me in the night. Thou hast tried me, and shalt find nothing. I am purposed that my mouth shall not transgress. Concerning the works of the men, by the word of thy lips, I have kept me from the paths of the destroyer. Hold up my goings in thy paths. Okay. So what is Yahshua's paths? That's in the sanctuary. It says, Yahweh, O Yahweh is in the sanctuary. Psalm 77:13. David says, hold up my goings in thy paths, that my footsteps slip not. This is in Psalm 17, now verse 6. I have called upon thee, for thou wilt hear me, O Elohim, incline thine ear unto me, and hear my speech. Show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by the right hand, them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. Okay. So now, in the type, the Philistines that had encroached upon the land of Israel and had taken possession of it while Israel was absent from the land. Okay, so the enemy come in and they took advantage of a favorable opportunity. Here's some empty land, and they encroached upon it. And then when Yahweh told Israel to go and take back their land, they had to meet the enemy that tells them, no, you can't have your land back. Okay. So David says, show thy marvelous loving kindness, O thou that savest by the right hand, them which put their trust in thee from those that rise up against them. Okay, verse 8. Keep me as the apple of the eye. Hide me under the shadow of thy wings. Okay, what did it say that rock in the desert was? It says it was a shadow in a dry land. And that rock represented Yahshua. Okay. So what's the shadow of his wings? Yahshua represents the shadow of his wings. Psalm 77 verse 9. 17 verse 9. From the wicked that oppress me, from my deadly enemies who compass me about. Oh, David, he is just vexed over his deadly enemies that lives all around his borders. They are enclosed in their own fat. With their mouth they speak proudly. They have now accomplished us in our steps. They have set their eyes bowing down unto the earth, like as a lion that is greedy of his prey, and as it were a young lion lurking in their secret places. Arise, O Yahshua, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Now, what does it mean, which is thy sword? In other words, he's saying the sword, which is the word of the Yahshua, is the sword. So he says, let's read this again. Arise, O Yahshua, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is with thy sword. I'll put the prepositional phrase in there, and now it makes more sense. The sword of what? The sword of his word. Hebrews 4:12 said, the word of Yahweh is a double-edged sword. The word of the Yahshua is a double-edged sword. From men which are thy hand, O Yahweh, from men of the world, which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. They are full of the children, and leave the rest of their substance unto their babes. As for me, I will behold thy face in the righteousness I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Now, when is David going to awake with his likeness? When is he scheduled to awake? Well, here in this 12th parabolic hour that we're in right now. Okay? So, along with all the rest of the righteous dead, since Adam. So when is he going to awake? When his time comes for his people and of his dominion, whenever it comes the time to resurrect his dominion, he's going to come forth as the head of his dominion. No doubt. Of his people. Okay. That ends chapter 17. Actually, chapter 18 is 50 verses long. We're going to, since we take much time on that, we're going to just say that chapter 50 for our next sermon and our next prayer talk. It's a whole new understanding of the things of how Yahweh works with his people, especially with the house of David. Now we're going to go back to where originally that we had our study. We're going to go to the top of page 340 on chapter 9, Patriarchs and Prophets. Okay. And we're going to finish up where we left off on our last study. So now it says, ever since man was created, had there been witness such a manifestation of divine power as when the law was proclaimed from the Sinai, for the earth shook, the heavens also dropped at the presence of Yahweh. Even Sinai itself was moved at the presence of the Yahweh. For the Yahweh of the Israel, Psalm 68:8, amid the most terrific convulsions of the nation, the voice of the Elohim like a trumpet was heard from the cloud. The mountain was shaken from the base into the summit, and the host of the Israel pale and trembling with the terror lay upon their faces upon the earth. Okay. He whose voice shook the earth has declared, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. Hebrews 12:26. Now this once more has yet to happen. This is going to take place here in this 12th hour. And if you think it's awesome in the type, when he only shook the earth, what's it going to be like when he shakes the heaven? Why does he have to shake the heaven this time? Because the heaven that we are really not familiar with is this one that's in this solar system of where our planet is, along with 11 other planets that belongs to the sons of Jacob that are residing in on these other planets here in the solar system. It also has been affected by sin. All the planets in the solar system has been affected by sin. Because when you go and read that tract, behold, I make all things new, you're going to learn that when Yahweh recreates this earth, he's going to also recreate the heavens, meaning he's going to create all the planets in the solar system that have also fallen under sin. Okay? So it says, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. Hebrews 12:26. And we might be interested to find out that these planets that also fell into sin along with this planet here, it's a whole new world. We don't even know about it. We no doubt better not have it revealed to us when the seven thunders utter their voices, as found in Revelation 10. That's not really written in the written word about those seven thunders. But there is a whole new world of information to be opened up when they do thunder and open up the light on that. But let's go ahead. It says in the scripture that Yahshua shall roar from on high and utter his voice from his holy habitation. And where's his holy habitation? The house of David, of Mount Zion. And the heavens and the earth shall shake. Jeremiah 25:30. Joel 3:16. In that great coming day, the heaven itself shall depart as a scroll when it is rolled together. Revelation 6:14. And every mountain and island shall be moved out of this place. The earth shall be to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall, and not rise. Isaiah 24:20. Therefore shall all hands be faint, all faces shall be turned into paleness, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrow shall take hold of them, and I will punish the world for their evil, saith the Yahshua. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the hardness of the terrible. Isaiah 13:7, 8, and 11, and Jeremiah 30:6. When Moses came from the divine presence in the mount, where he had received the tables of the testimony, guilty Israel could not endure the light that glorified his countenance. How much less can the transgressors look upon the Son of the Yahweh, when he shall appear in the glory of his Father, surrounded by all of the heavenly host, for the executing of the judgment upon the transgressors of his law, and the rejectors of his atonement. Those who have disregarded the law of the Elohim and trodden underfoot the blood of Yahshua, for the kings of the earth, and their great men, and the rich men, and their chief captains, and the mighty men shall hide themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And they shall say unto the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Revelation 6:15-17. And that day a man shall cast his idols of the silver and his idols of the gold unto the moles and unto the best, to go into the cliffs of the rocks, and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for the fear of the Yahweh, and for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake the territory of the earth. Isaiah 2:20 and 21. Now when you go read the story about the origin of Laodicea, one of the seven churches back there in the Yahshua's day, that was then found in Asia, the seven churches that Revelation chapter 1 talks about, that was found in Asia. It talks about, when you go read about the description of Laodicea, it says that they dwelled in the cliffs of the rocks. And they're the only one of the seven churches that dwelled in the cliffs of the rocks. So it says that here in the last days, they're going to cast their gold and silver to the moles and the bats, and go into the cliffs of the rock. Laodicea is the only one that understands this, cliffs of the rocks. And I think you'll find that in the prophecy of Isaiah chapter 2, verse 20 and 21. God gives it here. So it says, and into the tops of the ragged rocks, for the fear of the Yahshua, and for the glory of his majesty, when he arises to shake the territory of the earth and prophecy of the United States. And when he shakes the territory of the earth, it means he's going to shake the Adventist church like she has never been shaken before, and she's going to take all of her ill-gotten gains and riches of gold and silver. She's going to go cast it first and foremost to the bats and the moles, and they're going to go into the cliffs of the rocks. Now, where would the cliffs of the rocks be today for Laodicea? Since she has joined up with the beast has his places holed out in the earth, in the caverns of the earth, for his people to go and hide in at this time. So where do you think the Adventists are going to go hide? Those that have joined the beast. They're going to go hide in those holes and cliffs of the rocks that the enemy has hewn out in the earth. And the enemy is the beast itself. Okay, now you're going to find out that this beast has a living representative. And this beast has a living representative. You find it in Isaiah 19. It says that he is a false prophet. That's his mouthpiece. That's his living representative. And all your prophets are born in Israel. And if they start out as true prophets, they turn out to be false prophets. But then all of these false prophets that come from another race of people is another story. And I don't know much about that at this time, but right now we're going to put that on hold. We do know that the most powerful man on earth today is the president of the world. He comes from the Middle East. He comes from another land. And he has no pedigree. He has no traceable roots. As you can trace him back to anything, but the only thing you can trace him back scripturally is to Satan. That's the only place you can trace him scripturally. He's called the Black Messiah of this world now. That's come to save the black race. The black race now are claiming that the true race, or your black races of people, because of the virtue of this false prophet. Now, who would ever thought that when the false prophet comes on the scene in the last days, that he would be a black person? Who would ever thought that? I would never dream it. Okay, so what is a false prophet? He's a prophet of darkness. And in this case, literally a black person. Okay, now, what is a true prophet? He's a prophet of the light. Okay, the light shineth in darkness. Okay, and those that are in darkness can see that light if they want to and come out from that darkness and join the city of the lights. So it goes on to say, then will it be seen that Satan's rebellion against Elohim has resulted in a ruin unto himself and to all that chose to become his subjects, for he has represented that great would result from the transgression, but it will be seen that the wages of the sin is death. You will read that in Romans chapter 6, the last verse. It says, for the wages of sin is death. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. Okay, so when that day comes and the earth starts burning as a stubble, and who is ever on the wicked side or classified as wicked, they're going to become as stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahweh. So all the wicked one day are going to be burned up when the earth burns as an oven. They shall leave them neither root nor branch, Malachi 4:1, but is Satan the root of every sin, and all evil workers who are his branches shall be utterly cut off, and end will be made with sin, with all the woe and ruin that have resulted from it. It says, the psalmist, thou hast destroyed the wicked, thou hast put out their name forever and ever. O thou enemy, destructions are come unto a perpetual end. That's in Psalms 9, verse 5 and 6. Well, we're going to run over a little bit here. We're going to finish up this chapter. We're at the end of our study for this hour. Let us continue, but amid the tempest of the divine judgment, the children of Elohim will have no cause for the fear. For the Yahshua will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel, Joel 3:16. For the day it brings out terror and destruction unto the transgressors of Elohim's law, will bring the obedient unto the obedient joy unspeakable and full of the glory. Gather my saints together unto me, saith the Yahshua. Those that have made a covenant with me by the sacrifice, and the heavens shall declare his righteousness, but Elohim is judge himself. Well, you know what? All my life, once I joined this bandwagon of the kingdom in 1970, for the last 43 years, I have enjoyed the ride. I have given everything up as I went along, and I afraid that I needed to give up, that I was told to give up, walked off from it, left it, not where I found it. And so, you know, but I wouldn't take for it. It's a good journey. Let us go on. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth Elohim and him that serveth him not. Malachi 3:18. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteously, the people in whose heart is my law. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of the trembling. This is talking about the house of David. Okay. This is talking about the law here with the tribe of Judah. This is talking about Yahshua, because he's here leading the way. He's the king now of this kingdom. He's the invisible king. David is his visible king. It's talking about the antithetical David, which is none other than Malachi. It's talking about Elijah. Thou shalt no more drink of it again. Even I am he that comforteth you. Isaiah 51:7-22 and so. For the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, purified house of Israel. I shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Yahshua, that hath mercy on thee. Isaiah 54:10. For the great plan of redemption results in the fully bringing back into the world, bringing back the world into the Elohim's favor. All that was lost by the sin is restored. Not only man, but the earth is redeemed. Will be the eternal abode of the obedient. For 6,000 years, Satan has struggled to maintain possession of the earth. Now Elohim's original purpose in his creation is accomplished. The saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Daniel 7:18. And that's right here, this 12th hour. This is what we're preparing for right now. From the rise of the sun as the going down of the same, the Yahshua's name is to be praised. Psalms 113:3. In that day shall there be one king, Yahshua, one Savior, and his name is one, and that's Yahshua. And Yahshua shall be king over all the earth. Zechariah 14:9 says the scripture. Forever, O Yahshua, or Yahweh, thy word is settled in heaven. All his commandments are sure. That's talking about the 10 commandments and all. They stand fast forever and ever. Psalm 119:89. Psalm 111, verse 7 and 8. For the sacred statutes which the Satan had hated and sought to destroy will be honored throughout a sinless universe, and as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Yahshua Messiah will cause righteousness praise to spring forth before all the nations. Isaiah 61:11. This brings into our state this hour. You can contact us at the 11th hour call. Now we're going to close this service with a song entitled Love Lifted Me. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore.